with a little bit of headwinds finally for interest rates. I think we're picking up.
So thanks, Dan. I appreciate that, and I actually, you and I, we agree sometimes. It's a little infrequent. I think this morning is one of those things we agree on. Actually, I love Dan. He's a great broker and a great asset for the company. Hey, listen, he's right. Historically, good market, bad market, there's always some component of, oh, we're at the end of the summer. Unlike any other career I can think of, I was in software for 12 years before I got into real estate 25 years ago. And, we didn't have the luxury of going, oh, look, it's August. Let's check out, or let's throttle down 30% or 40% or whatever the case may be. You know why it is, Dan? Do you know why we suffer from it in this industry in particular?
I mean, I have my presumptions. I think it's like I always blame it when I'm talking to clients. I always blame it on it's the school year and people's schedules and sports and kids and this and people vacations. But I think I know what your answer is. I think your answer is agents check out because they check out, and so it's more agents' fault than it is necessarily the market or any particular client's fault.
I will put a finer point on it, but you are correct. It's because we as agents are self-employed. Let me just say that again. We're self-employed. So we go to the old man, the boss, the old woman, old man, I'm not going to discriminate. And we're like, hey, I worked hard for 6 months. Shouldn't I be able to check out for 6 months? And that crazy boss is like, yeah, you deserve it. If you did that in any other occupation, to be like, hey, yo, good for you. There's the door. But since we're our own bosses, we're really good at the justification. Some people might use a term that is BS, bologna sandwiches, something like that. So yeah. Good point.
It's so funny that you say that because I wanted to blame everybody else, but I took 16 days off in the last 30. So there you go.
Well, but see, you're opposite. So now you're ready to lock and load in the quarter that matters.
Let's go.
Parker, you've been with me for a number of years, and I think you could just echo this. It's a theme. I think you and I started working together 2007. Is that about right?
Yep. 3 months after I got my license.
Yeah, so 18 years. And have I ever varied from telling agents, if there's any time you're going to focus more during the year than any other time, it should be in Q4, because the bang for the buck, the dividends it will yield are far outstrip any other time of the year.
Yeah, no, never. And because of that, Decembers are oftentimes my most lucrative. It's like my most lucrative month of the year. Savannah can attest to that.
Here is the simple math, you guys. This is the simple math. So I am a little bit of a stat nerd. That's, it's a 12-step program. Admitting is one of the first steps. Wow, nobody even laughed. Thank you, Dee. When we analyze the data, and part of this goes back to 10 years on the MLS board of directors and sharing that a couple times and poring over data and understanding the value of the data and what it can help us understand about our industry here in Utah, we would see historically about a 15 to 20% drop off in number of sales. And you could go back and look at the home sales graph and you can kind of track it yourself to verify what I'm saying. But the reality is, I would venture a guess that 50% of the agents suffer from what Dan and I were just talking about, right? They throttle down. It's like they find the piece of data to create a BS mentality, which is, well, the market's going to go down 15%, so I'm just going to throttle back. Why would I work that time? Well, the other side of the coin is at least 50% of your peers are checking out because of that BS mentality. So if the market's only coming down 15%, but 50% of your competitors are going into sleep mode, I don't know, sounds like a great time to be working and to generate not only a lot of business in Q4, but to dial up your business for Q1 of 2026. So
I think, Matt, to that point, when we say agents aren't working, What we mean is they're telling people they're present in the industry, but the reality is they're spending a little bit more time in the morning on Xbox. They're spending a little bit more time, you know what I mean? Like going to lunch with some buddies. Like they're kind of slacking off. Their mentality is, oh man, I crushed it in the summer. I closed 8 deals. And so I'm gonna take a little bit of a break
I
because
have
I've got
earned
my
it. I have
yeah, I've
earned it.
earned it. That's right. Yeah.
Can you
So
imagine in another occupation going to your boss and saying, I did what I was supposed to do for 4 or 6 months, so I have earned not really working for the next 6 months? The door would be open so fast for you to be kicked out of that company, it would make your head spin. Somehow, it's generally acceptable for a lot of our competitors. Just don't allow yourself to be one of those people. Be your own good boss and call yourself out on BS. Yeah, no, no, no. That's not the way this works. And in fact, if I'm really intelligent, this is the time for me to really get it in gear. All right, to that point, I would just want to share with you a quick stat here. So if you go to the stats and you go to the home sales graph and you click view results, right? We all know this because I show it at least 4 times a year. And it'll take a second to generate here. But Dan brought up the point that, some people, it feels like the market's a little soft right now, and here's the data. Now remember, this is through Q2. This is through the end of June, right? So if you go back 4 quarters, there was June of 2024. So we were 420 properties higher than the previous year. And if we go back 4 more data points, we're close to 1,000 more homes sold this summer in Q2. And that's before rates started to change and people got more optimistic about buying. So there always seems to be like this potential for a laggard effect, right? We all talk to each other. We talk to friends and family. We read things in the news. And honestly, we don't do our own thinking enough and do our own analysis to see if it lines up with reality. We're very comfortable letting other people kind of dictate what our mentality should be. Own your own thoughts. I'm not saying ignore what other people say, but A, qualify them. Do they know what they're talking about? Or are they just kind of the echo chamber? And like I always say, do you spend time in the data yourself? Right. So if I'm looking at this black line and looking at the home sales, it's like, well, here was our high water mark of, the COVID era, which was an anomaly, not the real market. And then we paired back and then we corrected some more and we corrected again. And it looks like the correction was during 2023. And we flattened out, but there was a little bit of optimism and we're starting to trend up. And this jump right here is the biggest jump we've seen in a while in home sales. So that's not hard. That's not like a huge intellectual exercise. You don't have to be, an intellectual giant to look at that and go, looks like the market is starting to trend up, right? And oh, by the way, why would pricing be going up in that same time frame? Oh, more demand. That's the short answer. Supply demand curve,
So
right?
Matt,
The more demand there is, the higher the price goes. Yeah, Parker.
how much is this calculating new construction?
It doesn't. New construction is factored in here, right? And
Okay.
it depends on where you are geographically. Right now, statewide, the last time I ran numbers, which was about a month ago, new construction across the state is somewhere in the neighborhood of about 20% of all homes sold. So 80% is, resale. 20% is a big number, guys. That's not to be ignored. That's a big chunk of your business, and you better have that portion dialed in. Okay.
I guess my question is that 20% outselling that 80%? Does that make sense?
Outpacing it as far as price appreciation? Is that what you're talking about?
Well, yeah, I mean, because every time that a new construction sells, they're raising that price to a certain point. And
Yes
so
and no. Yes and
incrementally
no.
over the past year, where new construction has sold primarily faster, more efficiently than resale, do you have an idea about that? Like I'm just trying to get like a scope of that.
I don't want to go down a rabbit hole on this. I think part of it depends on where you are, Parker. There are some
Okay.
areas that are hotter. I mean, if you go to the southwest side of Salt Lake Valley, Daybreak, Harriman, there's a lot of new construction out there. And so just by the sheer volume, you could make the case that, oh yeah, it's outpacing others. But if I were on the east side of Salt Lake, that data doesn't hold true. So always be careful with your data. Don't get it as specific as you can before you make an assessment, and don't take that and paint with a broad brush across the entire geography. Does that make sense? All right, I want to show you one other thing. When you log into the MLS, I have another screen up here. You have the ability to customize your widgets, these gray bars, right? MLS announcements, listing alerts, new listings, market update. I want to focus on market update for a second. I don't know if you guys remember, about a year and a half ago, I was keeping track of I took the data from this and dumped it into a spreadsheet, specifically looking at these two fields right here in the center. Prices going down and the prices going up. So I wanted to show you something. We're at the front end of today, so we're not seeing a lot. If you actually went to today, right, you would see so far today, there have been 52 price drops on existing listings, and only 3 have gone up in price. Just stop there. What do you think that means? I mean, if that's all the data you had, what would you derive from that? Market's a little soft for sellers because 52 of them out of 55 are dropping their price, right? So let's go just a little further. I'm only going to use a few data points on this. Let's go back to Friday, the last business day. So there's 52 and 3. Oh my gosh, 273 of the existing listings went down in price. 16 went up. Huh. Starting to see a pattern here. The day before, 302 went down in price. 19 went up. I'm going to do one more day just to show. 304 went down. 24 went up in price. Okay, that's 1/12. I mean, if you use this data right here, roughly 1 out of 12 was going up in price. 11 were coming down in price. So let's pause there for a minute. This is where we have such a unique job, right? I mean, you got to know contracts. You have to know how to negotiate. If you're going to be a good practitioner, you need to know some of the data and some of the trends and what it means, what's in it for my buyers, what's in it for my sellers. And the most important part is you got to be able to effectively articulate it. It's one thing to have it here. A lot of people can't even get it here. But even if you get it here, the ability to speak it in an intelligent way to move the needle for your clients in what's in their best interest, don't ever lose sight of that, is where you see the difference between the okay agents, the good agents, and the best agents, right? Good, better, best. It's my theme of the year. So my point is, Dan said something, when he was talking about, when I asked, what's your general feel on Monday? He said, I don't know, a lot of people are saying, oh, the market feels like it's a little soft. Yeah, that's so 4 or 6 months ago. That's 4 or 6 months ago. If the people that are spun up and know pay attention to what the Fed just did recently and what the anticipation is 6 weeks from now, what they're going to do again, and the fact that sellers are still lagging behind the data, this is the time. If you're representing buyers, you are going to do your clients a disservice, your buyer clients a disservice, if you're not talking to them about this. Look at this. We have a moment in time. Looks like it's about a 1 to 2 month window where we can go out and still negotiate heavily with sellers, get concessions, get things paid on our behalf, while lending is coming down. But if you wait until the next Fed announcement and rates coming down, the herd is going to turn the corner. And now we're going to be competing with a lot of people. Let's just see how prophetic I am. Everybody take a sticky note right now and says, Barton says in 6 to 8 weeks, we're going to be competing with more offers. Let's just see. Let's just see. Okay. Let's just see how accurate that is. It's not prophetic. It's just using the data. Okay. All right. I have a couple of other news items I wanted to share with you guys this morning. Anybody pay attention to the news this morning? Real estate news? What's the big news? Come on, you're all professionals. Damn it, it's Monday morning. You should know what's going on. This should be part of your Monday morning ritual to check in with the industry.
Which one do you want to talk about? The lawsuit from Zillow, the Lennar statistics that say that, ooh, ouch, things are hurting for new construction. Like, where do you want to go down the list?
The big news of the morning that literally just brought. If you went right now and Googled and said current breaking real estate news, the top news story you're going to see is that Compass just announced that they are
Yeah.
acquiring anywhere.com, which used to be known as Realogy, which is C21, Coldwell Banker, ERA, Better Homes and Gardens. They're acquiring that entity, which makes them the largest real estate company in the world.
What was it? 1.6 billion, I think.
1.6 billion.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious. I mean, that's so little value. So I wanted to share with you something related to that, right? Because people are gonna talk about it, right? They're gonna talk about it and say, what does it mean? And oh my gosh, does that mean, Compass is the 800-pound gorilla? And let me just show you this. Here is Compass's stock performance over the past 5 years. They were at almost 20. Let's see, what are we at? $20.15 5 years ago, and as of this morning, they are at $8.34. That is a 59% drop in their value over the past 5 years. Let me say it again. 59% drop in value with all the acquisitions that they've done, right? And making themselves big. Big doesn't mean you're efficient at what you do. What it does say, and this is, I'm sorry, I'm going to go editorial mode, so you can discount anything that I say. You can have a contrary opinion. But there are people that are good about building hype and the potential of pulling pieces together without actually having delivered on pulling the pieces together and doing something more meaningful. I would dare say, if you look at this, they have basically 5 years of talking a big game without actually delivering on it. And this feels like it's the latest in the acquisition of those pieces that don't actually materialize into moving the needle in a substantial way, other than saying, look, we're big. Look, we're big. When you look at, and I'm not going to go into all this, but when you look at the earnings, anybody know what the earnings have been for Compass? Here's a hint. If your stock price goes down, your earnings aren't very good.
I mean, REITs are showing an annual return of 10%. So this is like, it's very interesting to see this and compare it to just like some standard stock.
Somebody Google while we're talking what their latest earnings were. Were they positive or were they negative? Compass earnings. All right. So just be aware that is happening. There's also a couple of other things in the news this morning that I just wanted to share with you. I know this isn't our norm. We will get to something more substantial, but I think this is a substantial portion of what you should be about as a professional. You've got to stay spun up. You've got to be relevant. That doesn't mean you have to be a nerd and know who the CEO of Compass is, and you don't need to know the acquisition price. You don't need to know the timeline. I'm not saying that, but you need to know what the moving parts are. Okay. Here's the other two items that ran across my news this morning, which was a big discussion about AI's growing story in real estate operations, and whether that is for marketing or for predictive analytics or client follow-ups or property valuations and previews, virtual staging. Can I just freak you out, guys, for a minute about AI? I'll do this on a personal level. This is being recorded, but I think my son will be okay with it. Share. All right. So my son sends me this catches up with me. I think it's waiting for my phone. Here we go. it just shows to me the kind of the power of AI and somewhere where we're heading with this. So my son, who's in the military, sends me this message this morning, and this was a picture I took of him when he was, I think, 3 or 4 years old, right? And oh my gosh, I'm sorry, but he took this photo from when he was a kid. He's at Joint Readiness Tactical training right now in Louisiana, and he told AI to combine the two photos, and that's what it came up with. Isn't that amazing? It's crazy, right? My comment to him was, yeah, I'm looking forward to the day that that's a reality, especially now that you just got divorced. I guess grandkids are on hold for a minute from you, but looking forward to that. So what is the point? The point is there is a lot happening on the AI front, and we need to be aware of it. We need to, how many of you, just raise your hand on screen if you went to sales meeting and bold trail training in this past week? Come on, raise your hands. Good for you. Good for you. It's with that as a backdrop, meaning the significance of AI going forward, it's super cool, that we have such a strong affiliation and relationship with Inside Real Estate and what their roadmap is, that they're already implementing. This isn't like, oh, here's what we're going to do a year from now. Well underway with ways for Bold Trail, Max Tech with Bold Trail to benefit our business in some of those areas I just mentioned, whether it's, retention efforts and staying forefront of mind, and marketing and predictive analytics. I'm not going to go into all the detail, but you guys, this is a big deal, and it's great that we have this affiliation, and it's great that we have AMG, Associates Marketing Group, who gets in the thick of this and understands how to implement it and use it with your SOI. That's the magic. AI by itself and being able to do a photo of you as a kid and as an adult and put it together, yeah, it's cute, it's intriguing, but this is to a level of where if you have your SOI into Bold Trail, this is going to be the theme for the next quarter. You've got to get your SOI contacts into Bold Trail so that you'll be able to leverage the things that are already coming down the pike that can move the needle and dovetails with Q4 that we just talked about. What a great time to work and get ahead of the herd. Carrie, did you have a comment? I saw your hand go up there for a minute.
No, I just was raising my hand for having been to Bold Trail training.
Oh, got it.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, the other interesting fact, and then we'll move on to the substance here, but anybody know the term Nepo buyers, Nepo home buyers? Have you heard of that? What is it? What's the definition of a Nepo home buyer? Well, think nepotism, right? In the workplace, nepotism is hiring your family, right? And they get some preferential treatment. Well, they've kind of blended this term, Nepo home buyers. It's where they're utilizing family members to help them in a day and age of less affordable housing to then get into housing. So my youngest, 21-year-old, highly analytical dude, he's weird. That was funny. Come on. Because he's my son and he's analytical. You guys are very dry on Monday morning, just for the record. Thank you. Appreciate that. So listen, he's in this category, right? He doesn't have a year's worth of income history. He's got about 9 months, and he's like paranoid that he's going to get lumped in with the herd that turns the corner. He wants to get a house before then. Thank goodness his older brother has some money on hand and has agreed to be a co-borrower, co-signer on his loan. So he falls into that category of a Nepo home buyer. So now you know a modern term. When you hear it, you know exactly what it's talking about. And they were talking about how in some areas of the country, 30% of new home buyers are Nepo home buyers. Does that freak anybody out, or does it make sense because of affordability? Yeah. And so the only reason I bring that up as a industry item, a news item is, I don't bring these things up for like trivial pursuit. I hope you look at when I bring things up like that to be like, okay, so wait a minute, what does that mean for me? What should I be doing about it? Well, what you should be doing about it is, one, realize that is a reality, and don't look down your nose at somebody that has to get a co-borrower. A lot of people are doing it. They have to do it to get, into a property. And best case scenario is maybe, I don't know, have some conversations ahead of time proactively with Lifetime Home Loans that we own in your favorite LO, and be like, hey, since this is a decent component of what our business is in the current marketplace, what should I be aware of? What should I be future pacing my clients with? What can I tell them to tell them this isn't that big of a deal? It's not as hard as they think. Here are the steps, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? Or you can just go in and blind, like, I don't know. I think we can do it. I'm not sure how it happened. That doesn't instill any confidence. Our job is not to fabricate or to paint a rosier picture than it is, but it is our job to know what the hell we're talking about, right? So I don't know. You got a resource in your office, an LO with Lifetime, and go figure it out, right? Get the top 5 or 6 components, items, things of concern, and wrap it into a good marketing message. So when you run across the Nepo home buyer, you're like, oh yeah, you know what? Actually, nationwide, about 30% of people are doing it. Our lending company, who's really good at this, has already talked to me about this. Here's some of the things we need to look out for. Here's how we can make this and expedite it, and blah, 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 blah. Do you feel a lot better if you're talking to somebody who says that versus like, I don't know. What do we do?
Hey, Matt.
This is what you do when you're a pro. Yeah, Dan.
I love the term Nepo buyer. I think that's hilarious. It really works in today's age. But, a perfect time to talk to your lending partner is at the golf events that are tonight and tomorrow, depending on where you're at. And it's definitely not too late to let people know that you want to go. Lifetime, +1, Top Golf, and Big Shots in St. George.
Yeah, what a great time. Go have some fun and ask a couple of questions while you're there. Thanks, Dan, for the reminder. Yeah, those are always great events, and I'm actually glad you reminded me because I had forgotten. I've got to make sure I get to those. So any final questions, comments about news of the day, sharpening the saw before we move into our main topic?
Yes. What's your favorite place to get this information? Where do you look?
Yeah. So a couple of things, Melissa. I'll share with you my screen real quick, and then I'll give you the final piece to the puzzle, okay? Of course, when I come to utahrealestate.com, if you come to the stats column, you know what? I've advocated for this. I'm going to make this very brief. You should always, every one of you on this call should have a calendar item weekly to where you say, this is the time where I'm going to sharpen the saw in my career, right? And I think it should be a Monday morning function unless there's something prohibiting you from doing that. And you can put however much time you want. I think an hour to go in and understand that is well worth your while. Now, to your specific question, Melissa, where would I spend my hour? Excuse me. I think our most significant data is what's on our MLS. It's our data. It's what we should know the most. So that's my starting point. And of course, if you go to the stats, you can get to rapid stats from here. You can also get to it from the home page. And I've showed you some of those. Can I derail for 2 seconds? Look at that. This is the dashboard for rapid stats. And all I did was come in, I've said this before, and I dropped down the list from today, which would just show me that. And all 3 of these top categories, I say, show me what it is versus a year ago. Okay, active listings are up 21%. This is so fast. I mean, I would write these down for the week and I'd have them at the ready in my mind. So when somebody says, how's the market doing? I'm like, well, funny you should ask. I just did my weekly analysis. And yes, I would say it that way. I just did my weekly analysis because that means I'm a pro. And listings are up 21% from a year ago. Solds are up 6% from a year ago. And under contracts are up 9%. Now, be prepared to also say, well, if you're dealing with a buyer or a seller, you got to be able to say the very next thing, which is what's in it for them. So if you're a buyer right now, you have more to choose for than you've had in a long time. You're up 21% from a year ago. You got a lot of inventory to choose from. The not so, the cautionary news is, oh, by the way, sales are also starting to increase. There's always a lag. Inventory goes up and then sales start to pick up. Why do listings go up? Oh, because people wax optimistic. They hear that rates are coming down, that there's going to be more buyers, so you're going to get more listings. And then some period of time after that, you start to see the sales coming through. And you see, I wish they would reverse the order on this. Here's the number of active listings. Here's the number of under contract, and it culminates in the number of homes sold. And it's kind of in that sequence. It's a timeline. Inventory goes up, under contracts go up, and then it materializes in solds. So you can kind of see where we're going to be heading. If inventory goes up and money gets cheaper, which it is, then your under contracts are going to go up and your sales will follow those first two. Okay? If I did nothing else, that would be a good day. There's a lot of data there, very helpful to both buyers and sellers. Okay? I would also spend time with this graph, Melissa, the home sales graph. Unfortunately, it only updates every 3 months, but it's great for seeing the trend. If I could put a trend line through the blue line, we can kind of see pricing has been soft, but it is slowly inching up, and it seems lately it's starting to accelerate. Okay? Then the last thing, there's a lot of, two more things. If I were in the rapid stats, let me get back over here, and I'm on the main page, right? And I just go down the market summary, and I take the second one in. So remember, dashboard, go down to the second menu item, second one in, the infographic. And I would put this on my phone. I would screenshot it and I'd put it on my phone. I'm gonna make this smaller so everybody can see. But it has all the key pieces of data: active listings, sold listings, median sales price, months of inventory, and median days on market. I don't know. There's 5 talking points for just about anybody who's interested in the real estate space. And that's not a lot for me to know. Can you pretty quickly derive what it means to have listings up 21%? Yeah, we just talked about it. Same thing with solds. Yeah. Price per square foot, I use that as, hey, don't be one of those people gets overly fixated on price per square foot because it's a really bad measure. If I just dangled that out there and you were the general public and I said no more, what would be going through your mind right now? If I said, don't be one of those people, I just painted you into a corner. Don't use median sales price. It's a really bad metric. And I stopped there. What is your mind thinking right now?
That I shouldn't do that.
But isn't the question why? Your natural mind is going to, why is it a bad metric? Right? Most people are going to be like, okay, but why? Okay, well, why is it a bad metric? We talked about this a while ago. If you have the exact same house and one is on a 1/4 acre and one's on a 1/2 acre, what does that do to price per square foot? Oh, nothing. I mean, the acreage is going to factor in, but it's effectively the same house, and literally price per square foot is a measurement of the house, the structure itself. So that's bad. What if there's a pool and one doesn't have a pool, but it's the same house? What if the basement's finished and the other one doesn't have the basement finished? What if they both have a basement finished? One has a full kitchen and one doesn't? What if one has a walkout basement and one isn't? What if one's daylight and one isn't? You see where I'm going with this? It's a horrible metric for establishing value. And we should be able to say that. You should have thought these things through your head so that when somebody, when they say, how's the market doing? Like, oh, I just did my weekly analysis. I actually tracked 5 things. Let me just tell you one that's kind of interesting. I found a lot of buyers and sellers target fixate on price per square foot. And it's just one of the worst metrics ever. And allow 2 or 3 seconds of pause for them to be in their own head going, but why? Why? And then answer the question for them because they're thinking it. Okay. Then the last thing is if you go to your with a subscription to utahrealestate.com, you get real estate news. You get this in your email, and it talks about a lot of different things that are important. So that's what I would say, Melissa, is those are some of the areas that I start with. You could go a lot deeper, But if I only had an hour, I could get through all that stuff in an hour easily, especially if it becomes a routine. And man, would you go out in your day-to-day business for that week with way more confidence. You would know that you're doing stuff that your competitors, I promise you, the vast majority of your competitors don't even come close to doing this. They're reactionary. They are not proactive. So if you made this part of an integral part of your business, I think the psychological effect, if nothing else, is substantial and makes you go into a meeting with a buyer or a seller with a high degree of confidence, which, by the way, forget you're a professional a minute. When you walk into an environment where there's somebody who is confident, I don't mean arrogant and cocky, but confident, and they back it up with a few pieces of key pieces of information, how do you feel about them? Like, yeah, she's solid. She knows what she's talking about. That's part of the game. That's part of the game.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. All right. So last session we had 2 weeks ago, we were talking about procuring cause. I hope that was helpful information, and the code of ethics. And I just wanted to talk briefly about two more components kind of in that same category. And I hope they're useful, but it's strange that I say useful. Useful in that hopefully we can avoid them. And it's the last two, and it's really kind of the culmination. In case you haven't paid attention to the curriculum, I try and build up through the year, right? You know, we start with the basics, we start with the REPSI, we start with disclosures, we talk about key addenda, we talk about negotiation texts, I have a whole syllabus of things to go through, and it kind of is wrapping up in Q4 of, okay, to what end? Hopefully, underpinning all of it is an ability to do a better job for our clients, to make yourself feel way more confident. But there is a component that's not always fun to bring up, which is the last two. Okay. One is, anybody had the joy of being investigated by the Division of Real Estate? Rhetorical question. Please don't raise your hand. I have. At least through a lot of agents over the years. And I feel like I have a very good relationship with Katie Wright, who is the chief investigator, and many of the individual investigators, of which they have 9, actually 1 quit, so currently 8. But there's a whole arsenal of investigators. And that's not because they're bored. It's because they got originally, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, they only had like 4 investigators, and they've grown to 9. It's not government bloat per se. It's the queue for complaints has grown and grown and grown, and they've got to get through them. I mean, I think at the worst point, they were a year in arrears from somebody filing a complaint to getting through the queue to it to eventually investigating. There were some that would go so far that there was the potential that we as brokers no longer had to have records, because potentially only 3 years, between 3 and 4 years. And if they drug their feet long enough, it'd be like, sorry, we don't have any more records. You know, those were gone. So yeah, they hired more investigators, and I think it's easy for us to paint them as the boogeyman, the bad guys. They're non-business. But listen, we are a self-policing organization. I don't care if there's 9 people or 20 or 30. There's never enough people for them to go track and follow 25,000 licensees, right? So we really are a self-reporting, self-policing organization. And I think by and large, I know there's exceptions, by and large, I think the DRE is trying to do right by the public in this order. The public, and then us as professionals, right? Let me just share one little point with you. When I was up one time having a meeting with, I was chair of the MLS at the time. We had a meeting with Katie Wright, and at the time, Johnny Stewart, who was the director of the Division of Real Estate. we were talking about some transfer of data and information and could they get access to MLS data. And there was a heated discussion, right? It's like, well, that's private data and we don't know that we want to cooperate with you and share that information. And there was a lot of things said, but I'll fixate on one, which is this. They said, listen, our goal is to dismiss as many of the complaints as possible, because perfectly honest, the majority of the complaints come from the public. Of course, there's a good portion that comes from professionals themselves, one against another, or a broker against another broker, but the majority come from the public. And they said, and you know what? I'm going to put my own words on it because I don't remember the exact words they said, but a lot of time the public is up in the night. They're off their rocker. They're upset that their home didn't sell. And so they file a complaint where there's really nothing to complain. And they said, our goal is to, like, out of hand, given some data to back it up, to dismiss the majority of complaints. I can't remember the number. I mean, it was somewhere around 40%, just to dismiss them. So I hope that gives you a little bit of the psychology of the DRE, right? They're pragmatic. When there is a bad actor, they're going to go after a bad actor, but they're not going to just at the outset trust anything and everything the public says. They have a good filter system. They want to get rid of the BS that people are just pissed off and want to create pain for a licensee or a broker or a brokerage. And they've got a good filtering mechanism for that. And so part of that was we can only dismiss those if we've got good data to work from. And, you know, we put some guardrails on how they could use the data, and we came to an agreement. So what is the general philosophy when it comes to a complaint with the Division of Real Estate? So we'll cover two aspects we're going to spend the most time on when we are defending ourselves against a complaint. And then the second one is it worth your time to file a complaint? All right, so the first one, I'm just going to tell you what's been my philosophy over the years. I hope you understand, so that if you ever get into this realm, you'll understand our approach, and even more so, you'll understand our day-to-day business and why we ask for and do certain things. So the philosophy is this. When the division sends out a notice, which, by the way, up until a year ago, they had this policy that, Melissa, if you got a complaint filed against you, you would get a notice, an email, and you'd get a snail mail, and it would say, hey, Melissa, there's been a complaint filed on 123 Main Street. We need all your documentation on this, which means contracts, texts, emails, phone records, blah, 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 blah. And you've got 10 days to comply. And I wouldn't know a thing about it as your principal broker. And I was so pissed about this, upset about this, when I found out about this about 10 years ago. And I went into the DRE. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? You guys tell us as the brokers or principal brokers that we're accountable for the activities of our agents. And yet if somebody is allegedly doing something wrong, you notify them and you don't tell me, but you're going to hold me accountable? What kind of jackassery is that? I mean, that makes no sense. And they are a little slow moving. They finally changed that a year ago, and we actually do get notice as the principal broker now. Thankfully, most agents, when they got a notice, they would call up their broker and be like, what's going on? The DRE is investigating me. And we'd be like, calm down. It's going to be okay. And this isn't to be construed as cavalier or gaming the system or anything of the sort, but it is an intelligent, intentional approach. And what I mean by it is this. When the DRE comes knocking, when they say, hey, Melissa, the public says you did X, Y, and Z. We have initiated an investigation. We need your documentation, and you've got 10 days. How long do I want to take to get them the data? 1 day. 1 day. I want to fire back at them so fast, so completely, so well documented that their impression of RE/MAX Associates, me as their principal broker, Dan, Julie, Bunny as our area brokers, and you as agents, that these guys are good actors. They do it right. They're well documented. I literally have had a conversation with an investigator, we'll leave it at the DRE, who literally called me up one time and he said, hey, yeah, we got this investigate. I saw it was you guys. And I was just like, why are we wasting our time? That's the reaction I want. I want their starting place to be RE/MAX associates and their agents, by and large, do things by the book. They treat the public well. They understand their job. They're well documented. And as a result, I start from a place of them being kind of an ally of ours, right? Versus if we drag our feet and we send the information, incomplete information on the 10th day at the 11th hour, and they're like, they must be hiding something, right? You understand the difference in mentality? Okay, so what
Hey,
is
Matt,
that? Yeah, go ahead.
Thais Fernandez in the chat says that she has a question.
Awesome. Can I finish this thought and I'll come to you, Thais? So what does it mean for you as an agent at RE/MAX Associates? Here's what it means. I hope all my office managers are listening right now, even though Heidi's on the phone. Yes, I'm calling you out, Heidi. We can all see you. You're on your cell phone. It's okay. When your office manager reaches out and says, hey, we're missing lead-based paint disclosure. Hey, we're missing addendum 2 of 5. Hey, we don't have a signature here. Hey, that's not them just like looking for ways to annoy you as an agent. It's so that we do have a complete document set, so that if anybody gets squirrely and comes knocking, we're ready, right? In your licensure, you signed saying you would provide us documentation. So they're doing that part of the job. But the bigger reason is so that we do have complete documentation. So if anybody ever comes knocking, we're ready to fire off. We're ready to say, nope, we do it right. We've got our documentation. Because just like in litigation, almost always the person with the best documentation wins. And I think it's true in investigations as well. If somebody is audibly, verbally making a complaint without any facts, and we're quick to fire off facts, and here's the documents with signatures, done on time, done the right way, captured, it makes it pretty easy for the DRE to say there's no there, let's move on. That sound like a rational approach? I hope so, because it works pretty well. All right, Thais, you have a question, fire away.
Well, I show a house in Harriman, and they were like, they wanted to meet me. I felt that they wanted to meet me there. They didn't. I was asking questions, and they were like kind of like pushing that. And when I went to the house, they were saying that they had been scammed from open door brokerage.
Yeah.
And so they wanted me to file a complaint. So I did on Monday, but they are not submitting all the paperwork. So should I push that more, or I sent him a text message. I said, I already did a complaint. You need to upload all the information that you show me to this email.
Yeah, so if somebody has a complaint against another brokerage, because that's what we're talking about, right? Open Door, they have a complaint with Open Door. I think there's nothing wrong with us helping them understand what their rights are, but what I would not do is get involved directly myself in the complaint. So let me show you what I mean, Thais. If you go to the Division of Real Estate's website, realestate.utah.gov, right?
Yeah, I did that.
Yeah, and you go down to real estate, and it opens up here. I'm trying to remember forms. I think it's under forms. They've updated this a little bit, but there's.
No, it's a second. No. I did it that way. But I didn't upload anything because I don't have any documentation. They do. They have that.
Right. But that's the point I'm making is you're not their agent in the context of their complaint with Open Door. But could you turn to them and say, hey, listen, if you go to realestate.utah.gov, click on real estate and go down to enforcement and click on submit a complaint. I want to show you how easy this is, right? Click on it, right? And it says, hey, you want to submit a complaint? And if you click on file a complaint, it comes up with a fillable form. It's literally like one page. So if you go to next, you're filling in the boxes, and it takes them, depending on how thorough they are in documenting. I mean, I could submit a complaint within 5 minutes. I don't think we as agents at Remax Associates should be getting involved beyond this, right? Show them the mechanism, show them how they can file a complaint with the DRE against Open Door. And then for that issue, we should be washing our hands because, one, we weren't their agent at the time. We're their agent now, but we can facilitate going, this is the mechanism that is in place for you to have an investigation done to see if there's something that Open Door did wrong. But I personally, and I would set the expectation, I can't get involved in that other than showing you where you can go to submit the complaint. You need to know the state has 9 investigators, and it will be assigned, and it usually currently takes about a month to 2 months for the paperwork to be processed, to get an investigator assigned, to request documentation, and to start the process. Okay.
Okay, yeah, I called the investigator. I talked to the investigator. He told me to send an email. So I sent that email, and he gave me like a link to upload all the documents. So I sent the link to her, and I said, okay, this is the link. So but
yeah, we want to be helpful.
So I should tell the Division of Real Estate, okay, she will like kind of like, okay, I sent her that link, and yeah, and kind of like, okay, I will do that, because I didn't respond after that. I just sent it to her.
Yeah.
And I don't know if she did it.
I'm going to use a metaphor. It's college football season. It's the best time of the year. Woo, love it. It was a great Saturday, by the way. This is the metaphorical handoff of the football. You got some information, the football, right? And you're handing the football the issue that your current client has when they were a client Open Door, and handing it off to them so that they can run down the field and deliver it to the Division of Real Estate. I don't know that there's any upside for you to be involved beyond that, because you didn't know what the situation was. You weren't involved at the time. You bring very little to the table, but you could get yourself put into an energy suck, a time and an energy suck. Yeah. So I would just tell them, try to be as helpful as I can, but I can't be involved in something with another agency. Your appropriate path is to file a complaint with the Division of Real Estate. Fill out the key information. You can upload certain documents. You can upload text strings. You can do all these things, and they'll take it from there. By the way, let's get back on the track how I can help you buy a house now.
Yeah.
Yep. Good question. Yeah, for sure. All right. So actually, it's great that you brought that up, Thais, because that was the second part of my Division of Real Estate's one. How do we defend it if we have a complaint filed against us? And the second part is, how do we file it? And wherever possible, sometimes it is us against an agent. Sometimes it's a code of ethics issues, but sometimes it's really they violated the administrative rules of the Division of Real Estate. 2 different things. Code of ethics is a private organization. Division of Real Estate is public, and it's where we get our licensing from. So if they violated those rules, there's nothing that says you can't file a complaint against them. But just know this, if it moves forward and eventually they have a hearing of some sort, you can be pulled into that. Not that that's the worst thing, but just do it judiciously. People that work with me on a day-to-day basis know one of my pet phrases is, let's not make a federal case out of this. If it's significant, if something nefarious really has been done, I think we owe it to the public in general, to our occupation, our industry, to do it. If it's trivial, I don't know personally if I'm going to waste the time. That makes sense? I mean, if it's ticky-tack stuff, I figure they do enough ticky-tack stuff, people are going to stop working with them. The public really isn't hurt by ticky-tack stuff, and I'm not going to take the eye off the ball of my business and what I'm about to go push a ticky-tack issue that's going to be a time and energy suck for me. That's kind of my criteria. Okay. All right. In the last 4 minutes, 3 minutes, I'm going to talk about the top of the heap of the worst of the worst. That get your attention? Litigation. And there's a lot of overlap with everything I just said about a complaint with the Division of Real Estate. But I would just say litigation, whether it's small claims or if you're going to district court, like big boy court, there's a lot of overlap. Documentation still wins the day. So once again, when your office managers ask for your help in getting a complete file, you should know it's done from a place of great care and concern for you. And if things were to ever go sideways, right? So don't give them a hard time. Why are you? I've literally heard these, okay? So I'm not making this up. Why are you such a jerk about this? Why are you being such a pain? Why does it matter? What? There's no shortage. Doesn't happen a lot, but it happens sometimes. And almost always, it's an emotional reaction. What I have found, I will be able to see if this is truthful by the nodding of the heads of my office managers on the call. Most of the time we find it's because the agent didn't do their job in the time frame they were supposed to do their job. And now it's going to be really awkward to go back to the client and say, hey, I didn't do my job right. Could you help me by signing this document that should have been signed 3 weeks ago? That's not a good look. And I can see the office managers nodding their head. Yeah, that's very often what it is. So, moral of the story is the first time you hear from the office manager, I don't know, in week 1, I don't know, get it taken care of then. Don't wait until, can you imagine something going to settlement and actually closing, and then all of a sudden it's like, we're missing a key document. Can you go get, and we don't know what's gone on yet. We think maybe you're just holding it in your email, but as we discover, it's like, oh, you never got it. Huh. What do we do now? Super awkward, right? Super awkward. And even more awkward, at that point, everybody's crossing their fingers for years, going, I hope nobody files a complaint on this. I hope this doesn't turn into litigation, because if so, oh crap, we're screwed because something critical to the transaction, I didn't do my job as the agent. I'm just being honest with you guys. I forgive me for being so transparent and authentic, but this is what we deal with on the brokerage side of things. I love our office managers and our TCs. I think they're practically saintly because they deal with, and it's not always this way. There's a lot of really good things, a lot of good agents, highly appreciative, but there are a lot of times I know, because I meet with them the office managers and TCs on a regular basis. It's like, Matt, why are they doing this? Why are they reacting this way to me? I don't have a good answer a lot of times. The truth is, I don't think they did their job, and they're embarrassed, and it's going to create a really awkward moment for them. So, coming full circle, the last 2 things, the Division of Real Estate Investigations and litigation. Listen, guys, I have to go this week, either on the tomorrow or Wednesday, to be a witness in a $1 million lawsuit that is now going on year number 5. 5 years this has been going on. It started the last year I was a principal broker of C21 Everest, and it's still going. It's still going, right? And so I only say that at the end of our discussion today is don't allow yourself to be weak-minded and think, we'll just sue them. When I hear that from an agent or from their client, no offense, but my first reaction is, you're stupid. If that's your go-to, let's litigate, let's go to court. Of course you can. Even good attorneys will tell you, we're going to do everything we can to stay out of court. Why? It's a time suck. It's an energy suck. It creates anxiety and stress. And even if you're well documented, there's still like 15-20% crapshoot. You just don't know how a judge, a jury is going to react to the information. It might be completely irrational. So that is top of the heap, of bad of the bad. It's why we manage the way we do. It's why we want complete documentation. We want you to do a good job so that you, your client, the company, the brokers, everybody avoids something that is unpleasant. The good news is most of the time what we do is pleasant. We do a good job. We get a paycheck. We have repeat customers. You bump into them years down the road and they say, Melissa, thank you for putting me in that house. My family has thrived. What a great conversation. What a great occupation to be in when you do it right. But don't lose sight of managing to what happens if something goes a little screwy. You got to be an adult, you got to be realistic, and you got to manage to that as well. So with that, you guys are awesome. I take a lot of comfort knowing who you guys are as professionals, because I know the number of times I have to go down that path is not a lot. It's very few. And that's a direct attribution to you guys being consummate professionals. So keep up the good work and have a good week.
Thanks.
See y'all.
You too. Bye.